You're very welcome to this webinar on getting started in the environmental farming scheme. My name is Brian Irvine and I will be the chairperson this evening. I've been involved with agri-environment schemes for many years. I'm currently the senior biodiversity technologist at CAFRE, where our team has a role in providing EFS training. We will have two presenters tonight, myself and Nicola Warden. Nicola is also a CAFRE biodiversity technologist based at Greenmount. Nicola develops and updates our EFS online training modules and is involved in delivering habitat management courses to students and in establishing agri-environment practices on the college farms. Jerry McGarr from Countryside Management Delivery has kindly joined us this evening for the question session. Countryside Management Delivery are the branch who are responsible for running the EFS scheme. You have been invited by letter and email to tonight's event as you are an EFS Tranche 4 participant. You will have received your agreement in January and are no doubt started or getting prepared to commence your capital works. A very important piece of information is that due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, all those who accepted the offer of an agreement now have until the 31st of December 2021 to complete the capital works applied for under the scheme. And it's important to phrase that's the capital works. The aim of the event tonight is to provide you with an update on how to access the resources and training, how to claim and comply with the scheme and avoid the common errors. I know that there are already quite a few of you who have completed their training. Well done. I hope you find it useful. We want you to maximise the benefit to your farm business from the scheme and to the local environment. So thank you for participating in this positive scheme. Nicola, at this stage, I'm going to hand over to you to start your presentation, please.
So good evening, everybody. We'll just crack on. So what we're going to look at tonight, we'll start off by looking at some key dates that you need to know for your EFS agreement. We'll then look at making a plan for your EFS work. I will show you how to access the mandatory online training that you'll have to do, what resources are available, and then how to claim for your payment and some common non-compliances. So our key dates then, first of all then is your online training. So as I've said, it's mandatory. So we advise to complete it as soon as possible and preferably before you start any of your work. The training must be completed fully before the 31st of December 2021 or your payment will not be made. Then your claim for payment, so it is made through your DAERA online services on your single application form or SAF, and it has to be done by the 17th of May this year. As Brian has said there, all the capital works have to be completed by the 31st of December this year as well, so that has been extended from the 1st of June due to COVID restrictions. So all of the existing information sheets and training videos will still say the 1st of June, but ignore the 1st of June. It is now the 31st of December. But for any options that have date-specific time periods in them, such as your arable options, please check the relevant information sheets, as some of those have specific sowing dates, so you'll have to go by those dates rather than the end of the year. Then for claim amendments, so you can submit a SAF3 form. This should be done as soon as possible, but no later than the 31st of December 2021 as well. And you can submit more than one SAF3 form if required. Then making a plan. So firstly, print out or download your agreement. This will show you what work you have to complete. Secondly, prioritise work that has to be completed in specific time periods. So for example, hedge laying, hedge planting, tree planting, and the arable options that I mentioned have the specific sowing dates. And then thirdly, determine what materials you need and buy them as soon as possible. So any of your hedge plants, trees, posts, wire or shade. Just to show you then and remind you, this is an example of an EFS agreement. You can get yours by logging into your DAERA online services. the table on the right will show you the items of work that you need to complete. So print this off and keep a copy. It will act as a reminder of what work needs to be done, the amount of work, and where it needs to be done as well. Then our CAFRE online training. As I've mentioned, this is a compulsory section of your agreement. It has to be done by the end of the year, but we advise to do it sooner and preferably before you start your work, as the video will help explain the specification that's required. So you will be enrolled in training for each of your EFS options and capital items that are on your agreement. Each training module will consist of a video, some questions, and the information sheet will be there as well. The videos are mostly 5 minutes long, and then the questions all relate to the information that you would have just heard in the video. So you have to watch the video and answer the questions correctly to complete the training module. So by now in the post, you should have received a guide to how to access your online training, and plenty of people have done it so far. So I'm just going to run through the steps and just show you how to access it. So first of all, on your internet browser, you will type in the web address there that you can see. So www.cafre.ac.uk. If you go on your phone or a tablet, it will look like that there on the left hand side now. You will click on the 3 wee lines that are highlighted in the red box, and that will bring down a drop down box, and you'll select Student Portal CAFRE Online. If you're accessing on a laptop, it will look something like this. This is the CAFRE homepage, and you will click on the Student Portal CAFRE Online there that's highlighted in the top right. So once you click on Student Portal CAFRE Online, it will take you to this here login page. So your username will be your 6-digit business ID, and your password will be capital P, password, followed by the last 3 digits of your postcode, and that's the postcode that's linked to your business ID. So for example, if you have a postcode, or Greenmount's postcode is BT41 4PS, so the postcode for us to log on would be capital P, password, 4, capital P, capital S, and remember those capital letters. If you don't use them, it will be an invalid login. Then whenever you log in for the first time, you will have to change your password to something more secure. So remember that new password, as that is what you will use, and then you can click login. If at some point you need to reset your password, you can click on this here box here. There's different ways of doing it. Now, if you have supplied a valid email address on your EFS application, so if you got an email today with the invite to this evening's meeting, we have a valid email address for you. If you click on that there, forgotten your username or password, it will take you through different steps. You have to enter your business ID, and then you will get an email sent to the email that you supplied. If you did not supply an email address or it is not valid, you will not get this email, and you will have to contact your local Dear Direct office, and they will be able to reset the password for you. But first of all, whenever you're logging in, it will be that password followed by the last 3 digits of your postcode. So after we click login, it will then take us to our CAFRE online dashboard. As you can see, each of the coloured boxes there, they represent a module that I am enrolled on. If when you log in for the first time, your screen does not look like this and there are no courses displayed, click on that there courses box that's highlighted in red now. As you can see up on the top, I am enrolled in 3 courses. When I have completed my training, I will have 3 courses completed on the other side as well. So make sure those numbers match up, and when they do, you are done then. So to access the training module, I will click on the coloured box there, and it will take me to a screen like this. So this is for planting new hedgerows. So as you can see, I have the information sheet here. I can access it by clicking on the information sheet within the red box there now. And I have the lesson. So the lesson is where the video and the questions are. So click on the words within the red box there now, and it will take me to my video. So this is the video then. If you hit play in the middle of the video there now, it will play the video for you. Watch the video, and then to access the questions, click on the blue bar along the bottom, and it will take you through to the questions. Answer the questions correctly, pick the right answer, and then hit submit, and keep doing that until you've answered all the questions. Then it will take you to this screen once you've answered the questions. At this stage, I have not yet completed my training module. I must click on the blue bar to register my training as complete, as the blue bar says there, and there's some more information there that you can read whenever you're doing your training yourself. So then once I get to this screen and it says congratulations, end of lesson reached, I have completed this module. It has been registered with CAFRE that I've completed it, and that's that module done. So then to complete the same steps for all of your other modules, we can access the rest of them by clicking on the CAFRE Online logo up in the top left there. That will take me back to my homepage where I will see the other modules. And it will take me to something like this here as well. So I can click on to the other modules that I need to do. Once you have completed a module, you will get a badge like these here on the right. So those circled now are for wider agreements, and then the trophy are for the higher options this year. So then again, at the end of your training, you must have the same number of badges as the number of modules that you were enrolled on at the start. And when they all match up, your training is complete and you don't need to take any other action. When you have completed your training and you supplied a valid email address to us on your application, you will receive an email to confirm it has been completed. But if you have not received or not supplied a valid email or correct email address, you won't get this email. If at this stage you haven't completed your training yet, you can send me an email after this webinar this evening, and if you wish, with your email address, and I can add that on to your CAFRE online training account. And then once you do your training, you will get this confirmation email. But unfortunately, for those who have already completed their training and have not received the confirmation email, I can't backdate it and get an email sent out to you, just the way the system works. So it will only work for those who haven't yet completed their training and who have not received or have not supplied an email address. And you will see my email address at the end of this presentation. So again, if you received an email from us today inviting you to this webinar, we have a valid email address for yourself. Moving on then to the resources that are available to help you. First one are the information sheets. So they can be found on CAFRE Online and they are on the DEAR website as well. So there is an information sheet for each of the EFS wider and higher options, each non-productive investment and each standalone option. So it is important that you read them, download them, print them off and have it there for you. Print off each of the ones that are relevant to your agreement. You're only going to have about 3 or 4 and they will just outline the specification that you have to meet as part of the scheme. So I'll just show you quickly here how to access them. So again, on your internet browser, type in the web address there that you can see, www.dera-ni.gov.uk, and it will take you to the home screen that you see on the right. Down the right hand side in the quick links, there's one for environmental farming scheme. So if you click on that, it will take you through to the EFS home screen. Just going to point out a few other things on this screen that you may need to find throughout the duration of your agreement. The first one there is the CAFRE form. So you can go in here and download it by clicking on the word here, and that will take you through to the downloadable form, and then you can have that if required. The next one being our field records, and this is another compulsory section of the agreement. You need to keep field records for the work that you do. We have supplied a template here. You can access it and download it by clicking here. So that here is for the wider options, and then this here is for the EFS higher options. The next one that just contains EFS guides, frequently asked questions, and then there's a video in there as well to show you how to access the online training in case you forget. Then our last 4 there, they will have the links for all of the training videos that you will watch on your CAFRE online training. But you have to first of all log in and watch them on your CAFRE online account to register and to tell us that you've done your training and that you've watched the videos and answered the questions. But if at a later stage you need to go back and refresh your memory from the videos, you can find them here on the DAERA website. And then the last two here will take us through to the information sheets, so either for wider level or higher level, depending on your agreement. So then it will take us to this screen, and you'll scroll down a wee bit and you'll find all these here options. So again, I'll just point out, we have our training videos there, and we have the terms and conditions of the overall scheme. We have, again, the field records template. And then these are just some advice notes where information has become available from previous tranches. And then back up the top, we have our information sheets. So you can select wider options, wider non-productive investments, or standalone options. So I've clicked through the wider options. It will take me to this here list. It is all the different options. So scroll down and find the ones that are appropriate to yourself. So just to show you as an example, this is for the creation of riparian buffers, 2 metre width on grazed. So all the information sheets will have the same format. Go in and download and print off the ones that you need. Have a copy just so you can refer back to them when you need to. As you can see, the payment rate is there, the aim, the description. We then have, this is the first table, so this is the requirements and controls. This is what can be inspected at any stage in your agreement, so it's important that you read this detail. The first one there, it says the 1st of June, but this has now been extended to the 31st of December 2021. The second one is telling you that the option must be created in the correct location where it has been approved. And the third one there, it's saying that it's an average of 2 square metres per 1 metre length of riparian buffer, so you can move in and out with your fence as required. So again, read the detail. The second table then in the information sheet is a list of annual management requirements. So you will need to fulfil these for the duration of your agreement, so you can't just walk away after doing the work in the first year. All of the options and the work have to be maintained. When the inspector comes out, he will have this exact list of management requirements and the previous table of requirements and controls, and they will go through this here to make sure that your EFS option meets the standards, and you can be inspected at any stage in your agreement. So use these here 2 boxes as a tick box that the inspector will use. Just to point out a few then, so the second one is to maintain the protective fence in a stock-proof condition. And the last one there is field records, so you have to keep your field records. On down in the information sheet, for any option that has stock-proof fencing, they will have this here list, the specification list for the fencing. So there's a lot of detail there, so make sure you take the time to read it and erect the fence accordingly. If you are doing any fencing in the scheme, there is a separate stock-proof fencing information sheet available, and you will also be enrolled in a separate stock-proof fencing module on CAFRE online, so you'll be able to watch a video and answer the questions there as well. So print off the separate information sheet for the stock-proof fencing to give you plenty of detail. And also, if you are using a contractor for fencing or any other bits of work for your EFS, make sure they are aware of the specification and just give them the information sheet and let them have a read of it themselves. Just to make you aware as well, this is the minimum specification. So for example, the red arrow is pointing there and it says centres not exceeding 3 metres. So the distance between the posts must not exceed 3 metres. I've heard a story where the farmer stepped out his 3 metres, and unfortunately the measuring was not accurate, and he was over the 3 metres and therefore did not meet the specification. So make your life that bit easier and get a 3 metre stick so you know exactly where your 3 metres is and where each post has to go. And then near the end of the information sheets, you will see they will have further advice to help you, and some will have diagrams like this here just to help you install the option correctly. For any of our tree or hedge planting options, The information sheets will have species lists, which you must choose from. You have to choose your plants from those lists. So again, print off and read the information sheet and understand what is required to do. Another resource that is available, we have a YouTube channel called CAFRE TV. So on your internet browser, type in the web address there in the red box. So it's www.youtube.com. Then when you're on YouTube, in their search bar, if you type in CAFRE TV, like you can see there in the red box now, that will then take you to our CAFRE TV channel on YouTube. And if you click on playlist along the middle of your screen there now, that will take you to a list of different playlists. One of them will be the Environmental Farming Scheme. If you click on that, that will bring up this here list of our previous webinars that we have held. So that is the recordings from our previous webinar. So this evening's recording will be up there in the next couple of days. So go back, we focused last year on agroforestry and then hedge laying and hedge planting this year. So go back and have a watch of them if you are doing those options. Also in CAFRE TV, there's plenty of other videos for outside of EFS. So go and have a look through it and you might learn something. You can also use YouTube wider than CAFRE TV to pick up new skills for hedge planting, for example. So go and have a watch of the other videos that are available, but beware of the other scheme specifications. Make sure whatever work you're doing meets the EFS spec. And lastly, just to show you, this is the template for the field records that is available. You can go on and download it and print it off. You can use this template or you can use your own. It's up to yourself, but it just contains basic information. So the business ID is there, the field number, the date the work was completed, the option the work relates to, the location, the activity and the length or amount of work, and then there's a section for any other information. So keep your records at the time as you go along and do the work. It'll make it much easier to fill in when it's finished. I'm now going to hand over to Brian to talk you through the claim process then. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. That was great. Summary of all those details. Folks, I'm going to chat to you about claiming. It's very appropriate. This is the online system has started for this year. It's amazing. It's round again. I will remind you that it was 8 months ago when you applied for this scheme. So you do have to check what you've applied for and make sure you're up to speed with that. Okay, the online system, it's open from 1st of March and you have to submit by the 17th of May. This is year 1 of 5 years. You continue to claim each year, even if your wider scheme has no annual recurring management payments in years 2 to 5. Still, the option must be declared each year in the approved field, as the option, e.g. hedge planting, must be retained for the duration of the agreement. Now, the image on the right is an example of the online claim. So if you look through the columns, the first column is the field number. So this is really straightforward, but do make sure you are doing the work in the correct field. And that error has been made before. Check your option, your code. You can see about the 4th, 5th column over is permanent or rotational. That refers, rotational would be something like an arable option such as annual wildflower or winter feed crop. Most of the options are permanent. The next one is unit type. This will either be in meters, hectares or quantity. Next column is amount agreed, and that is what you originally measured on your online application 8 months ago. So that is the maximum amount that you can claim for. And then in the last column, the amount claimed is the measured amount that you enter. So if we look at, for instance, the bottom line there is hedgerows and fencing. You can see that in the original estimate, the applicant put in 105 metres under amount that was agreed. But whenever the job was done, and measured up, it was actually, the amount claimed was 100 metres. So that's where you modify it. Now, this is really important because there's always something strange. The fence mightn't go all the way to the end of the field line. There could be some bit that doesn't meet the full specification. So that's a great opportunity to modify your claim. Okay, next slide, Nicola. Thank you. Now, this is a CAFRE, and this is important because obviously you're going to fill the first one in maybe this month or next month, but you may not have the work completed because you've been allowed to go on through to December 31st. You may have some done and other bits not completed. So this gives you an opportunity to amend a claim that you make in May. So it might be that you still haven't got round to doing that hedge planting. So you're going to put it off till November. That's okay. You still claim the full amount in your SAF form. And then you come along with this CAFRE in November, December when you've done your hedge planting and amend it if required then. So it might be that you applied for the 105 metres, but you've only actually ended up doing 85 metres to the specification. So it's just a case of filling in that one line and putting 85 in instead of 105. And that form is available on the DERA website under the EFS section. There's a lot of CAFREs coming in the last year. People are getting used to dealing with those. It's not something that we send out. It's up to you to initiate that yourself. So it is important that you note down, you keep a record, you know where to access what you've applied for in your May SAF so that you can check it in December before the end of the season. Okay, next slide, please. Now, I want to talk to you for a few minutes about common non-compliances that occur. And we'll look at them in these 5 categories. And number 1 is over declarations. And this is the main category and really refers on to the claim I was just making. I suppose it's whether, first of all, everything you do hits the specification. So if I give you a few examples, maybe in agroforestry, there's a section of a field which doesn't fit the specification. Maybe there's a main drain going through, so you don't plant quite so many trees in that area. So that area would need to be taken off. Maybe it's a section of hedge which doesn't have 2 new fences. Maybe there is a part that has a wall and therefore you can't put 2 new fences. That means you take that 10 or 15 metres off. It is most likely to do with an overestimation at application time because you were measuring quickly on the website 8 months ago. So this is an opportunity then to make your exact measurement. So that is really important that you measure twice and use a CAFRE where required. The next section is work not meeting the specification. This is very frustrating because somebody has put the effort in, done a good job, but perhaps not read the specification sheet fully. The specifications are written as minimum specifications. That's important to remember that phrase. It's a minimum specification. So you can make a higher specification, but that's your minimum. An example would be putting the wrong density of trees in establishing woodland, incorrect tree protection in agroforestry, incorrect number of new fences in hedge planting or hedge laying, and quite commonly incorrect fencing specification. So it's just a case of identifying what the minimum is and making sure you achieve that. Now, this is a good point to say if you want to do something that is different from that minimum specification, then it is really important that you email the Countryside Management Delivery Team. I'll give you that email address shortly. And ask permission to do that ask for a modification. It might be quite often, for instance, in agroforestry, somebody wants to make the distance between the rows wider and then put more trees within the rows. As long as we're getting the right density of trees, that is acceptable if there is permission achieved. And this email process is great because you get back a written answer which you can then keep, and that's fine for you when you go to the inspection. It might be quite often in fencing. I think there's quite a lot of requests to increase the specification, and again, it's a case of an email and getting a record of that permission. The next category, annual requirements, is an important one. There's an example there in the photograph. It might be a hedge that was planted and planted successfully, but then the participant hasn't been back near to maintain it. So things like weed control in hedging, hedge planting, hedge laying, and planting trees, very commonly that is not done. Replacing dead plants. So there are annual requirements that you need to do. The next, number 4, is records not completed. This is a very common problem. I would suggest make it easy for yourself, as Nicola was suggesting. Do it at the time. Keep them brief. It's very simple. Do them in a diary or a simple folder using the pro forma. Number 5 is training not completed. We are unable to pay any claims if the training has not been completed. Each year we get somebody will complain about the process until they do it, and then they find it quite straightforward and useful. So please do your training as early as possible to get the most out of the scheme. Next slide. Okay, and this is the last slide we're going to show you tonight before we start our question session. And really, this is very important. This is the telephone number for the EFS advisory service and the email address. Now, whenever you're contacting, I would strongly recommend you put your business number in, your field number with that specific inquiry, and then folks are able to look up your plan and give you a straightforward answer in written form that you can keep. So please write down that email address and write down the phone number. And this is all about communication. We have moved to a whole digital process with this scheme, but in reality, communication is important that we keep doing it. Emails are very simple to send and receive a good answer. So just in conclusion, I hope you found the event useful. Thank you for participating in the EFS scheme. The positive environmental measures you do for your farm have a wider impact on biodiversity and climate mitigation for the whole community of Northern Ireland. So I think our key messages from tonight are: make sure you get a copy of the EFS specification before you do the work, read the requirements, the controls and the further advice, understand the timescales, measure and claim accurately, do not assume. Do not just tell your agent, yes, I did it. Only measure and claim the parts that comply totally with the scheme. Do your own records. They are part of a record of scheme compliance. And communicate. Use the email address and use the phone number for any queries at all.